Grand Rising, everyone. It is Monday, April 20th, 2026. It is 0300 hours Central Daylight Time. I've had to restart this initially live stream recording and do this over because the brightness the brightness was off before. It wasn't off, it was too dark. Too dark for the display here for this live stream. So we have this here. We'll start here. We have several new developments. I wasn't here for maybe 3 days because I was very busy with other things, especially my birthday, which was yesterday. I am now 27 years old, and I had to do all that celebration and a lot of things to do with family and all that. So continuing on with this initial live stream recording that is posted to my YouTube channel after it is done. It goes in the live section of my YouTube channel and here on X. So starting here from Polymarket on the bottom, the Pentagon has reportedly asked General Motors and Ford to begin producing weapons, reviving a World War II era model. That's what they did in World War II. They had those companies build tanks and military equipment like that. So that's absolutely huge and historic that the Pentagon asked those companies to do that. That is another sign of a wartime economy developing and starting up. Makes sense. We are in the 7th week, potentially even the 8th week of the total kinetic phase of World War III. Yeah, it might have been week 8 starting on the 18th. I would have to look. Wow. So continuing on, this is from Defense Index and the Daily Mail. President Putin of Russia is preparing for a Pearl Harbor in space nuclear attack. That's what the U.S. military chief has warned. That's, again, also according to the Daily Mail. So a lot of sources there. That would be absolutely catastrophic for not only the US, though Russia and the entire world, especially if they detonated a nuclear weapon up there. It would take out all of the satellites with the explosion and an EMP effect. That would be very catastrophic for the entire world. Russia has anti-satellite weapons. So does the U.S. They have laser weapons they could use to target and destroy satellites more precisely. So a nuclear weapon being detonated up there would be, it would really take out every satellite. Everything that is up there would be destroyed. Not good for the entire world if President Putin does that, if Russia does that. This from the International Energy Agency. Europe has maybe 6 weeks or so left of jet fuel. So Europe has maybe a month at most, of jet fuel. There will be no flights likely going to or from Europe within the next month. Or even throughout Europe. That has to do with Europe entirely, not even just internationally. That has to do with Europe as a whole. Europe in its entirety. This here, which we're going to get into later on, though this here is from the Secretary of the Department of War, the U.S. Secretary of the Department of War, Pete Hegseth. This is some of what he said. He said, we will bomb, this is roughly what he said, we will bomb dual purpose critical infrastructure, water, and power in Iran. That is what Pete Hegseth said. Later on, President Trump himself has even said that. Then on a much different note, real fast here, President Donald Trump, he announced that the Department of War will soon be releasing UFO-related files. That is imminent. UFO-related files are supposed to be released imminently. That is also a historic development. President Trump may be the president to release all of that information and knowledge to the world that has been hidden away for so long. Uh, quite a bit hidden away, and a lot of changed perceptions. Then we have this here. About 2 days ago, Iran officially closed the Strait of Hormuz, again after the U.S. says it will not end its blockade. They tried to blame it on the U.S. Iran thinks they are totally entitled and they owned and they're the guardians pretty much of the Strait of Hormuz. It has nothing to do with the U.S. when it comes to closing the Strait of Hormuz. That just closes it entirely, meaning no other ships in the entire world can go through the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. naval blockade was just stopping anything going in or out of Iran. It's much worse when the entire Strait of Hormuz is closed, which it is now. That's confirmed. And we have this here from Polymarket. Some domestic news. More than 61% of the contiguous United States are now in drought. That's the highest level for this time of year on record. So massive drought all throughout the country. I've definitely noticed that. For weeks in this area near Austin, it was 90 degrees and sunny for a long time. It's only the last week or so that there's been some rain and storms. It goes weeks at a time, quite often, without rain. So we have massive drought here in the US. Then we have this here from Bricks News. It's a great news source. It just is. I know it's Bricks News. Though this is a very accurate and confirmed report. The world's largest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, has officially arrived in the Middle East. That was the same aircraft carrier that was off of Venezuela when that operation happened. When that aircraft carrier goes somewhere, it is not for no reason. It is for an operation, an action. It takes a lot of resources to sustain that ship, to have it anywhere for long. It's not just there to threaten Iran, it's there to actually join the war over in that area. And it's not just in that area, it's not just the Iran war, it is the total kinetic phase of World War III. Might even be the eighth week now. Then we had this post from the President of the United States. He posted Frank Sinatra years ago singing, I think it's called My Way, which is a very final song. It's a very final sign and especially warning from the President of the United States that he posted that video to his Truth Social. It is on there. That's what he put up. That's one of the most final things and warnings that he could have ever put up. And that's what he did. So that's being highly talked about. That especially shortly after that was put up, everyone has been talking about that. A lot of people came to the realization they should be in a bunker and preparing after he put that up. Definitely keep on preparing physically, mentally, and spiritually. As I said here, every moment and day is not guaranteed. Though I recommend living and preparing physically, mentally, and spiritually as much as everyone, as much as you can. So we had this here. This is from a doomsday plane. There was this 12 character message. EAMs are getting more attention these days. This was a very concerning one. It was an EAM. I think it was a message of 12 groups. They said it was 12 characters. You listen to it here. This is from RT News. It's on one of the primary nuclear war frequencies. I think it was on 8992. It's a HF band, shortwave band.
Would end. This is doorbell. Doorbell. Break. Message of 12 groups follows. Uniform. Kilo. Oscar. Yankee. India. Alpha. Victor. Juliet. Lima. India. Delta. Charlie. November. Zulu. Kilo. Uniform. Tango. India. Yankee. Golf. India. Bravo. Zulu. Whiskey. Victor. Sierra. Bravo. Hotel. Victor. Oscar. Papa. Foxtrot. Mike. Tango. Golf. Charlie. Time. 2-8. Authentication. India Papa.
It's pretty funny there. You could hear the guy in the background tell him what the authentication is. I hear these EAMs, that's what they're called, just about all of the time. It was from, I suppose one of the differences is it's from a doomsday plane. Well, I think it was the E4B or the E6B. Those are the doomsday planes. So it was from one of those and it got a lot of attention some reason. EAMs like this have been happening very often recently. Not just like that, not just 12 characters. There's been 40 characters. The very long ones that are closer to 200 characters are very concerning. And the ones that are, they're called Sky Masters, they're rare. Those are extremely concerning. And then if you hear a Sky King, especially more than one, those are the most rare. There was one of those quite a few months ago, though that was the first time I think in about 20 years that there was a Sky King message. That's the highest priority nuclear code right there. And that message there was on one of the primary, if not the primary, nuclear war frequencies. 8992 and 11175 are the primary nuclear war frequencies. You may listen to those bands, though you cannot speak on them. It's highly illegal. Some pirates do, and things like that. The French are authorized. I hear the French on there sometimes on those frequencies. As for other HF bands and certain frequencies, if you get a shortwave radio and you get licensed, you can use and speak to others on it at certain times. That's a great thing. I highly recommend a shortwave radio, especially keeping it in a Faraday bag when you are not using it. A Faraday bag or a Faraday cage when it is not in use and not expected. More so when it's not in use, it's good to have it out where you could hear it at any time. Though certain times you're going to want to put it in the Faraday bag or cage so it doesn't get destroyed. Shortwave frequencies could work even after SHTF. I highly recommend learning and getting a shortwave license and getting shortwave radios. After SHTF, in an emergency, you don't need to have that license. It's very good to have a shortwave radio. Still very good to learn about them and listen to those frequencies 8992 and 11175. You could hear EAMs quite often these days. There's been back-to-back EAMs at times. That's a short for emergency action messages. They're like nuclear codes of a sort. So this is a clear evidence that President Trump lies about a lot of things when it comes to this war. It's reported by intelligence officials, U.S. intelligence officials, that Iran still has at least 70% of pre-war missile stocks and 40% of drone arsenal. U.S. intelligence officials also claim the arsenal is enough to block shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. It's more than enough. Iran has thousands of missiles, and the U.S. naval blockade that is sitting in the Strait of Hormuz, which I think there are two of them, is at a very high risk. Those naval ships that are sitting there, they're all well in range of Iranian missiles. They could be precisely targeted and destroyed if there's not advanced air defense to deal with those missiles coming at them going maybe Mach 10. There's not much they could do to stop that. If Iran at any time decides to sink the U.S. naval blockade, which eventually they likely will, that's going to be worse than that will be much worse than 9/11. Thousands of sailors and Marines could die if Iran launches missiles at all the naval ships over there in the Middle East that the U.S. has over there. So, what a strategic and stupid decision President Trump has made by putting them in some of the most one of the most dangerous positions in the world, one of the most dangerous positions possible. Thousands of people, sailors and Marines, are at risk because he's placed a naval blockade there thinking they don't have any missiles left to do that. What a mistake, and what a hard way he could learn that. The world may see all those naval ships sunk by Iranian missiles going Mach 9, Mach 10. It's well in range of it's well in range for Iranian missiles. So all those ships there are sitting ducks is the term for it. They are not in a good position. President Trump once again threatened the entire existence of Iran. This is from the leading report and what President Trump has said himself. If Iran does not sign this deal, the whole country is getting blown up. That is a total existential threat to Iran. Iran at any time, because he said that, they could use WMDs on Israel and the U.S. They could use WMDs on Israel and the U.S. because he said that now. They could do preemptive strikes. Whether it's with WMDs or otherwise, now Iran can do that just according to international law. They're allowed to do that, and their doctrine. They have their own doctrine. Every country has their own nuclear and WMD doctrine. We have a very high possibility Iran at any moment could use WMDs or some other weapons on the U.S. and Israel. Preemptively, they could do that. I kind of expect Iran to do that because President Trump said that if they don't strike preemptively, they're going to get hit very hard. President Trump intends to take out he intends to order the destruction of Iran's power grid, their water supply, and their bridges and other critical infrastructure. So if Iran does not strike preemptively, they're going to be borderline wiped out. Millions of them are going to die from that. And it kind of goes either way with that. So if Iran doesn't do something, millions of them could die. If Iran does something, millions die in the US and Israel, maybe even other countries. So this is quite a situation. It really could hit the fan shortly at any time, even now, or after those strikes especially. So keep on preparing. Do not get complacent. Prepare physically, mentally, and spiritually. It is of the utmost importance now. Then we have this here. The U.S. Energy Secretary said much of the noise you are hearing is a real indicator of a system collapsing. He said that to CNN. So we could expect to see fuel shortages, I would say, within the next couple of months. More fuel shortages, especially here in the U.S. The price of fuel is going to absolutely skyrocket. It is slowly on its way back up. It was maybe 3 weeks ago at most. It was at, I think, $115 per barrel. It's going to go far beyond that after those potential strikes we were talking about. It will easily go to $200 a barrel by the end of this year. That is my prediction. Then we have this here. The Belarusians, a very strong ally to the Russians. They are preparing to open a second front in Ukraine. Large quantities of air defense equipment and armored units as well as ballistic missiles are reportedly being deployed to the Ukrainian border. Belarus is very close to the Ukrainian capital and western Ukraine. So all of those forces and most of the Belarusian army alongside the Russians, they may be intending to siege the capital of Ukraine, Kyiv. That is very likely what they're about to do. I will be watching that very closely and all of the further developments, especially if and when these massive strikes on the critical infrastructure, the water, and the power of Iran happen. That's going to be really, really something very historic when that happens. Millions of people in Iran and outside of it, because Iran will absolutely retaliate after that, are going to be affected. That's going to affect the entire world. Then this last bit of news here to talk about tonight. There is more news. I've been watching a lot of different things. These are some of the most important headlines and news that I've found recently. Iran launched a drone attack toward U.S. military ships over there by the Strait of Hormuz. So they're launching drones towards the ships. Drones are very accurate and very inexpensive way for them to do that. Though Iran could, as I was saying, Iran could fire missiles very easily at the U.S. naval blockade or two in that area. Very easily. Iranian missiles can very easily hit those literal sitting ducks, is a very accurate term to call them, over there in the Strait of Hormuz. It's really setting up to be worse than a 9/11 situation there. An absolute strategic mistake by President Trump. I think it was really his call on that. An absolute strategic failure, that is. He put thousands of people, thousands of Marines and sailors, their lives are now at risk. And now we have millions of lives in Iran and the entire Middle East and the entire world. The entire world is now at risk when it comes to what President Trump said, threatening the entire existence of Iran. So please keep on preparing. SHTF is very near. The total kinetic phase of World War III continues. I will be back with further news and talks about all of this very soon. Possibly later on today or Wednesday afternoon. If not Wednesday afternoon, it will be Thursday around midnight Central Daylight Time. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe if you will. I do enjoy doing this news and having this YouTube channel and helping humanity prepare. All of that overall, physically, mentally, spiritually, and with all my recommendations. Speaking of that, I recommend physical assets and storable foods, even freeze-dried foods and ammunition and weapons of the high, mid, and low-tech grades. Even the low-tech ones last the longest. Literally talking about like medieval weapons and things like that. Things that are antique to even that extent are highly useful. So once again, keep on preparing physically, mentally, and spiritually. I will be back soon, likely Thursday around midnight Central Daylight Time. Love, light, and blessings to you all.